We boarded the armored cars and set off towards the proving grounds. Those cars don't look like they could hold more than 3 people. The inside of the armored car was narrow and cramped, and the smell of machine oil hung in the musty air. The car shook and rattled over the uneven ground, tumbling us around like an iron coffin on wheels. Eventually, after enduring 10 minutes of jaw-rattling travel, unable to even peek outside of the scenery, we finally arrived at Karelia Fortress military proving grounds. Wow, Oxen main battle tanks. There are plenty of older model tanks out there too. It even looks like they have airships here. Oh yeah, like the ones we saw in Nord. Welcome. Oh. So that's Ellie's dad. I don't see the family resemblance. It looks like the hair made the jump from father to son, though. Reporting, Lieutenant General. Very good, Neidhart. And Instructor Vallenstein, I believe. Pleased to meet you. It's an honor to make your acquaintance, Lieutenant General Craig. Allow me to extend my deepest thanks for agreeing to cooperate with us for the Academy's curriculum today. Think nothing of it. Many of these fine youngsters may one day hold positions in the Imperial Army, after all. Besides, I owe a lot to old General Van Dyke. Ah, and these must be... What a piercing stare. So, this is Craig the Red. Elliot, my boy! It's so good to see you again! Huh? It must be half a year now since I last saw you. How have you been? That's a sharp-looking uniform you've got, too. I've seen photos, but it looks even better on you in person. Dad, come on. You've still got a long way to go if you want to put on some real muscle. There's a part of me that hopes you'll stay my little cherub forever. But... But you're a man of Erebonia, and the men of the Empire must be strong, stout, and ready for action. It was for your own good as a man that I held back my tears and enrolled you in the military academy. Dad, I can't breathe. I feel like everything I've been told about him was a lie. There do seem to be some differences from the stories. You're kidding me. He seems like a cool guy. What a delightful, commanding officer you have, Major. Words fail me. Dad, knock it off. I'll tell Fiona. Moving right along. I am Lieutenant General Olaf Craig, Commander of the Imperial Army's 4th Armored Division. I've been entrusted with the role of overseeing today's joint military exercise. Pleased to make your acquaintance. Likewise, sir. It's a pleasure, sir. You've got one heck of a dad, Elliot. Believe me, I feel it in the bones. Now, let me give you a brief rundown of what will be happening. The exercise will consist of a simulated battle conducted by 2 of our armored divisions. Armored regiments at the formation center, infantry, armored cars, and airships will work in tandem, using their maneuverability to the fullest to obliterate the targets. As our targets today, we'll be using previous model tanks that have been decommissioned from service. Autopilot functionality will allow them to evade and return fire, but they've only been armed with paint bullets. However, all other regiments taking part in today's exercise have been equipped with live ammunition. So you intend to actually destroy the other tanks? Ha! It wouldn't hardly be a live fire exercise if we didn't. The current time is 1400 hours, right on schedule. We'll now begin today's exercise, or joint military exercise. Armored Divisions 4 and 5 commence combat operations. Glory to the Empire and the Imperial Army. Begin! Yes, sir! 5th Armored Division, Armored Regiment will advance first. Armored Car Regiment and Infantry Regiment follow their lead. 4th Armored Division, Armored Regiment and Infantry Regiment advance together. Armored Car Regiment deploy to the left and right. Wow, it's certainly potent. So this is the kind of firepower it takes to fight a modern war. You said those tanks are called Oxens? Yeah, they're a type of main battle tank the Reinford company developed 2 years ago. I've seen their spec sheets, but seeing their power firsthand tells you what numbers and decimal points don't. They might be the strongest heavy tanks on the continent. And the Imperial Army's got a couple hundred of those in the wings, huh? That's kinda crazy. You try fighting things like these head on, you won't stand a chance. That's as true for our own nation as it is for others. I just can't get used to this. Just the sound of the artillery firing is enough to make me start shaking. I don't think that's something you should get used to. I mean, if the sound of guns in warfare ever stopped bothering you, I'd be worried. Green. I guess this is another kind of strength. Thus, the military exercise came to an end. The 4th Armored Division, led by Lieutenant General Craig, withdrew to an encampment near the fortress. Meanwhile, we returned to the fortress where Major Neidhart outlined the results of the training exercise. After that, sorry you had to wait for us to finish. Don't worry about it, we're the guests here after all. Thanks for your consideration. At the very least, I'd say dinner's a million times better than lunch was. I mean, it's hashed beef today. That's an Imperial Army tradition, isn't it? Ooh, just the smell's making me hungry. Oh yeah, where'd your instructor go? She's a real looker. I was hoping to get a chance to talk to her. She went to see the fortress commander with Instructor Neidhart. She did ask us to eat without her tonight. Ah, right. Well, if she's with Major Neidhart, it is hard to compete with those guys from the 4th Armored Division. It'd be enough if they just had Craig the Red, but they've got the Major too, and he's kinda scary. Like a division of muscle men. Anyway, we shouldn't keep you tied up any longer. Your hash beef's gonna go cold. See you tomorrow, guys. Wow, it's actually delicious. It's like night and day compared to what we had for lunch. You're telling me. Come on guys, what's with all the gloomy faces? You think you guys might have had a bit too rosy an outlook? What were you expecting to see out there? I'm sure you can understand at least a little of how we feel. It's like, has everything we've learned in our time at the academy been for nothing? Academics, the arts, individual skill in combat? None of those matter in the slightest in real warfare, do they? It's true. If all you're looking to do is fight a war, you don't need any of those. All you need is plenty of troops at your command, the latest weaponry, and overwhelming firepower. Assuming you know the tactics to use them well and a strategy that employs them efficiently, I suppose. The Oxens are even more powerful than I was expecting them to be, too. I remember my mother boasting about their capabilities when she was trying to sell them to the army 2 years ago, but to be honest, I'm feeling somewhat disheartened as well. I can't see there being a place for swords on the battlefield with weapons like those on the front lines. Well, I don't think that means individual combat skill doesn't matter at all. Still, I think maybe we've been misunderstanding something important all this time. What we saw in that military exercise today was power in its purest form. It has no morality of its own. It exists to bring about a result, regardless of the ideals or principles of those who wield it. That's true. In a sense, the same could be said of a sword or a gun, and all the way up to something as huge as Guerrilla's railway guns too. I think I finally understand why they wanted us to watch the military exercise in the first place. They could have taught us in a less roundabout fashion. Well, looks like you didn't wait for me to start the party. Instructor Sarah? So you spoke with the commander? Sure did. I've got up-to-date info on the trade conference too, as well as all the latest on the terrorists. So there's new information about the Imperial Liberation Front? Anyway, before I get to that, let me explain what you'll be doing tomorrow. In the morning, you're scheduled to participate in the Imperial Army's physical fitness training. In the afternoon, you'll be attending a special lecture where I'll bring you up to speed on that info I just mentioned. After that, you've been granted special permission to view the railway guns. I see. Looking forward to that. Sounds like we've got a pretty packed schedule. Well, we did bring you all the way out here, so we might as well make the most of it. Every nation possesses power in the form of a military, whether that military is large or small. Guerrilla Fortress just happens to have the power in a very striking, easy to understand form. As students of a military academy, you have an obligation to know the scale of the power. The Empire of Erebonia wields at present a power you might one day be in charge of yourself. What? Anyway, even a meeting that long couldn't keep me away from trying the famous hashed beef rice. I've heard it's the only decent food they have around here, so I've been looking forward to this all day. We should probably finish eating. Yeah, though it's gotten a bit cold now. Maybe I'll go and ask for seconds. Oh, Eustace, if you don't want the rest of yours, can I have it? I'd sooner throw it away than give it to you. Okay, that should do it. Alright, that covers today's quota. Oh, I'm looking forward to a nice long bath. Well, you know how every time there's a military exercise coming up, the workload gets pretty crazy like this. Still, at least managing inventory has gotten a lot easier thanks to the Orbital Net. They've got everything hooked up on the network over in Crossbell, right? Wish the Empire would get on that a bit more. Think of the utility. Well, from the sound of it, you'd need special equipment to send signals through a wired connection to make use of it. And considering the size of the Empire, it's probably going to be quite a while before it's a widespread thing here. Huh? An orb mail. Looks like it's from headquarters. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. This right here is the problem with the orbital net. There's no such thing as off hours when they can just send you orders around the clock. Huh? What's going on? So get this, they're planning on doing some extra exercise tomorrow. That means they've got to outfit 20 oxens with C units by tomorrow. 20. Seriously? Might as well start up another pot of coffee. We're in for an all-nighter for sure. Do we even have that many C units left? Actually, another lot came by freight just this evening. Exactly 20, if you can believe it. Guess we'll just have to get it done. Crap, at least let us take a shower. I'm gonna head down to the mess hall and grab some snacks. You want anything? At last, after what seemed like enough adventure to fill a week, we reached the final day of our field study. Well, technically this is 4 days of field study, so that's pretty close to a week. Over in Crossbell State, they were busy preparing for today's keynote session at the trade conference. We spent the morning running through the Imperial Army's physical fitness program alongside some of the soldiers. And after completing it, no easy task, I might add. Who's talking? We sat down to a lukewarm redux of yesterday's lunch. That afternoon, during our special military science lecture, we were presented with a confidential report on the terrorists. The Imperial Liberation Front is in Crossbell? Again, why are they telling us this? We're just students at Thor's. Like, we're basically high school students. We don't have any business knowing this. That's right, or at least that's what the intelligence division believes. It looks like a known terrorist organization from the Cowboy Republic has turned up in Crossbell too. The situation over there is pretty touch and go right now. Oh no. What are the authorities doing? Everything they can, naturally. However, operations are being handled solely by the intelligence division. They refuse to tell the Imperial Army anything, just that they have a trusted ally taking care of things. But who does the intelligence division trust? You've got to know something about this, right, Short Stack? Well, I do, but I can't really tell you anything. I guess it's not a breach of confidentiality to tell you they're a really strong bunch, though. That's still pretty vague. I've got a few ideas. Anyway, there's not much point in us worrying about that right now. The bigger issue is that our terrorists of the hour, the Imperial Liberation Front, are a bigger crew than we thought. Big enough to be in possession of a state-of-the-art military airship at least. Seriously? An airship? Can we assume Reinford's the manufacturer of them? Correct, just how something that large found its way into the hands of insurgents is currently unknown. But it seems to be a high-speed model different from the heavily armored types favored by the Imperial Army. I bet it's from the RF-26 series. There are a number of different models within that series though. But if they have an airship, that means they're going to be a whole lot more difficult to catch, doesn't it? That's exactly what it means. It's basically impossible to keep tabs on them as it is. With an airship in their possession, there's no telling when or where they'll pop up next. That's quite worrying, especially since Prince Oliver is attending the conference. And Toa's in Crossbell right now too. Yeah. Damn, now you got me worried. Take it easy. I don't think you have anything to worry about with Gramps and Lecter over there. Well, that aside, if the terrorist attention is currently focused on Crossbell, Does that mean the Empire is effectively safe right now? You raise a good point, Laura. They did target Princess Alpin during the summer festival last month. It's possible it's just a feint. Maybe they just want us to believe they're targeting the Chancellor. The railway military police thought so too, which is why they've increased the security level here at home. The Emperor and everyone else connected to the Imperial family should be safe. They've also beefed up security anywhere that seemed short-handed. As well prepared as ever, I see. At any rate, you finally uncovered some information on the terrorists' identities, correct? That's right, though once again we have the intelligence division to thank for that. If you turn your attention to the screen, please. I know that face. Gee. That's the man who kidnapped Princess Alpin and Elise in Heimdall. Not to mention he tried to start a war with Calvert in the Nord Highlands. So who is he? His full name is Michael Gideon. He used to be an assistant professor at the Imperial Academy in Heimdall. That man? A teacher? So an academic. Right, his focus was political philosophy. 3 years ago, he was dismissed from his position due to his intense criticism of Chancellor Osborne's hardline policies. Oh. So getting laid off set him on the road to terrorism? Well, it sounds like the actual reason he was let go was because he was handing out tracts and flyers in public. You'll find these kind of idealists at the heart of most terrorist groups, though. In seeding a group with their core ideology, they twist it to be even more militant and radical. You can't even reason with them either. Yeah, they just don't know when to give up. Sounds like some other groups I know. So, do we know anything about the others? We cross paths with that, with what I can only assume they're... let me start this one again. We crossed paths with what I can only assume were 3 other key members last month in Heimdall. Yes, S, B, and C. It seems like they haven't been able to dig up much on these 3 yet. Their strongest lead right now is that B may have belonged to a Jaeger corps. Interesting. He was toting around this machine gun that looked like it should have been mounted on a vehicle. Did he seem at all familiar to you, P? Not really. They're working on narrowing down the identity of S2, but it's too early to make any informed statements. The real unknown is their leader, C. Ah, the one in the visored helm. I heard he was able to go toe-to-toe with Reen, Laura, and B simultaneously. I almost find that hard to believe. I don't. I imagine there are plenty of people in Empire who could do so. It goes without saying that the Radiant Blade Master could fend 3 of us off without much of a problem. But I'd bet good Mira and Strict Sarah and Major Nightheart could do it too. I can't say for certain. Ha! Look at Mr. Modesty over there. The Major here is widely held to be one of the strongest up-and-coming officers in the entire army. I've heard people mention him right alongside Major Vander. Laying it on a little thick today, aren't we? Going by the family name, it seems safe to assume he's a practitioner of the Vander style of swordsmanship. No doubt a relative of Lieutenant General Vander from Zender Gate. While I would question whether I can stand on equal footing with him, Major Vander is unquestionably strong. He was my classmate during my military academy years, and quite close to Prince Olivert as well. In fact, he's in Crossbell right now, serving as the prince's bodyguard. Whoa. Well, that's reassuring to know. But getting back to the point, it's not just C, we still know very little about their group as a whole. Even their source of funding is a mystery, so even if they are a no-show in Crossbell, I doubt we've heard the last of them. And call it coincidence or fate, but you've put the kibosh on their schemes twice now. It's entirely possible they've come to hold their personal grudge against you, so be careful. Right. Yeah, we'll be sure to keep that in mind.